Hello and welcome to the Members Brief. My name is Ben Gibson and I will be your host this evening as we preview Melbourne's 2022 campaign. I think I can speak on behalf of all fans in saying that you've enjoyed this off-season, basking in last year's Premiership glory, but it is time to officially move on and look ahead. We have a number of guests lined up from the AFL and AFLW program, and they will be answering questions submitted by you at home. But first, we begin tonight by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land, Casey's Aboriginal communities and their rich culture, and pay respect to the elders past, present and future. We acknowledge Aboriginal people as Australia's first peoples and as traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we work and live. Now it's time to hear from our first guest, our CEO, Gary Pert, who is over at the MCG. Perty, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Ben, and welcome to all our members right around Australia. Thanks for tuning in to our Members Brief. So let's start with the questions that members sent in, and quite a few come through to me specifically about the review that the club did at the end of the 2020 season. And that was in reference to quite a bit of media reports last week, so I can understand why it's a topic of discussion and interest for you. So let's go back to the end of the 2020 season where the club come out and the board asked me to do a review. We knew as a club that we had a talented player group. We hadn't made the finals and that was something that we wanted to change. So I announced very clearly to members and transparently that the review was about actually making sure that we had the people and programs so that we could be playing our best football and putting the resources around a talented player group to be back in the finals, winning games in the finals and at some stage getting into a grand final and winning a premiership. And that's what it's all about. You may remember also part of that review was the AFL at that time, because of COVID impacts, all clubs had to cut $3 million out of their soft cap or out of their football department. So the review had to improve our performance, but at the same time cutting $3 million. And that meant that some people and programs had to go in every football department, and we were no different. So as we've discussed and we very transparently presented to members and supporters following the review, we did make changes. We gave the opportunity to 45 players, staff, coaches, people within the club. We even benchmarked the Melbourne Football Club, our football program, against some of the best and most successful programs in the AFL in the 10 years prior to try and establish, were there some parts of our program that other clubs were doing better, or maybe even parts that we weren't doing at all. At the end of the review, we come out pretty clear about where we were at. We had a talented player group. There was no doubt that Simon Goodwin was the coach that we wanted to keep on driving this program forward, and I think he'll continue to drive the program for quite some time. The review also established that we needed to put greater resources around Simon if we wanted to maximise the program. So we made changes. We made changes to people. We all know now that Adam Uze was brought in, Choco Williams. We restructured the football department, so Alan Richardson's role changed quite substantially so that his role was focused solely on the AFL team's performance. He didn't have any other distractions about managing the AFLW team or having to oversee the football operations or any of the facilities. It was about aligning our AFL program all the way through in every aspect of the program to make sure we were performing at our best every single game that we played in. And I think his influence has been very strong as a result of that change. We also made changes to the medical team, and a big part of the review come back that the best teams, the teams that perform consistently well over a long period of time, are driven by great player leadership groups. And again, part of the review and the timing of this was at a period where the players were saying, we want to be playing finals, winning finals and playing in a grand final. We think we're good enough and we're going to drive that. We're going to drive the standards on and off the field, and I think we saw the results of that. And when I talk about the player leadership group, I know we look at Max Gorn and we look at Jack Viney, but that player leadership group is now 12 to 14 strong, not just one or two players, and I think that's made probably the biggest difference this year of anything. So all those changes were made. It was a difficult process. We had to explore any sort of feedback given to me during that review process was explored, taken very seriously. But at the end of the day, we made the changes. We come out clearly to our members and said, these are the changes we're making. Myself and the board signed off on it. So we stand by the process. We stand by the changes that were made and the difficult conversations that were had with the majority of people within the department. And they took those conversations really well as a way of this is what's going to make us better. And we also stand by the performance outcomes and changes we've seen since then. So we've had a lot of great questions come through from members about the Premiership Cup Tour. And first I want to say is for those that have had a chance to get hold of the cup and get a photo, and they've sent back their emotions and how much enjoyment that it's brought to them and their family and friends. I love that. That's what the Premiership's all about, and we've had literally thousands and thousands of people have that opportunity already. But the Cup Tour will continue. It's not going to stop. It'll stop basically when members and supporters have all had a chance and they're sick and tired of seeing the cup coming around because there's been so many opportunities. So for the interstate members who have been sending in saying, is the cup going to end up in my state? Based on movement restrictions and COVID restrictions, we've only been able to get the cup to New South Wales at this stage. But as we play in interstate locations, we'll be working with our supporter groups in those states. So if you want to get hold of the cup, make sure you're talking to your representatives of the Melbourne Footy Club supporter bases in your markets. But we guarantee the cup will be coming around, and it won't come around once, it'll come around multiple times. And as long as we're hearing from the heads of those interstate supporter groups and we're hearing from our key stakeholder groups in Melbourne and Victoria they want to keep on seeing, then the cup will stay on tour. So don't worry, you'll get the opportunity. But again, I just love the enjoyment and the emotion that it's bringing to Melbourne people who absolutely deserve to actually have some history, to get a photo with it so they can remember this pretty special year. So make sure you take the opportunity to watch our AFLW girls play. We're halfway through the season. They're sitting right near the top of the ladder. They're playing some great football. They're great to watch. And they're a real threat for the Premiership. So make sure that they know all Melbourne supporters and members are behind them. And for those of you that are counting down the days, it's only weeks away from the AFL season starting. So it's very exciting. The boys are very fit. They're raring to go. They know that this is going to be an exciting year. We hopefully have plenty of big blockbuster games locked in our fixturing. So it is very exciting. So hopefully you're looking forward to it. And now back to you, Ben.
Thanks, Purdy. Now, the Demon Spirit is alive and well, not only in the players on the field, but in the fans as well, with over 41,000 loyal members already signing up for the upcoming season. If you or someone you know hasn't signed up, visit membership.melbournefc.com.au to secure your spot at our spiritual home, the MCG, and help us create some history in 2022. All right, it is time to bring two guests onto the panel, our senior coach, Simon Goodman, and GM of AFL Football Performance, Alan Richardson. Guys, thanks very much for your time. Goody, I'm going to start with you. Coming off such a high of a premiership last year, have you had the chance to properly reflect on that and the significance for the club just yet?
Yeah, look, I have. I've spent some time away in the off-season, obviously, and it's a great time to sit back and really look at the impact that this premiership's had on not only the people of the Melbourne Footy Club, but our supporters more broadly. And I think once we came out of lockdown and we got back to Melbourne, the amount of people that it's had an impact on was a really fulfilling thing to go through and listen to their stories, and obviously have the chance to take the cup around. It's been a pretty special time, but you reflect on the journey and how long that's taken and the building blocks that have been implemented throughout the last 4 or 5 years.
You tasted similar success early in your playing career. This one, as a coach, was it more satisfying given the work you've had to do over the past few years?
I think there's I think it's more fulfilling as a coach based on the fact of the amount of people it takes to build a really strong footy club, and the amount of learning that you've got to go through to build success. And I think when all those things start to come together as a coach, you recognise the significance of it a lot more. As a player, there's a lot more adulation and a lot more euphoria. But I think you're just a bit more reflective as a coach and more fulfilling because of the fact that you think of the people like a Peter Jackson and a Josh Martin and a Todd Viney that really set the foundations of the footy club, and the Paul Roos that set the foundations for us to really springboard back to being a successful club.
Richo, when we got back from Perth, this cup went on tour. I know you dropped into some people's houses to show it off. Did getting back to Melbourne help it really settle in for you?
Yeah, similar to Goody, you come back and you know what it means to the people that were over here in the hub. You got to experience the celebrations there, and that was just amazing. But yeah, given that they were doing it pretty tough in Melbourne because of COVID, they weren't able to be there and watch their team. It was just such an honour and a privilege for us to be able to share the cup with people that we hadn't potentially met before, but we knew how much it meant to them. That was pretty special.
Given we did achieve such success last year, Goody, other teams will be hunting us to a certain degree. Are the coaches and the players ready for that challenge and essentially being hunted by the opposition probably for the first time?
Yeah, look, we've spoken about that a lot last year around what expectation is, and it's obviously a privilege to have that sort of expectation, but we also know that we've got to go and earn things in the game and respect the game for what it is. So the first things we've needed to really focus in on is our preparation, being as physically and mentally prepared for what the challenges ahead are going to be, and then make sure our game's in really good shape to play to a level that resembles what we think we're capable of. So we're going to embrace, but we're also going to have a lot of respect for the competition, and there's one thing we are going to remain is really humble through this period and make sure we prepare incredibly well.
Having ultimately achieved the goal last year, how does the team remain hungry to go and do it again?
You can only go by what you see at training. And you see the way the players have come back and their preparation and their desire to become great players and be part of a great team, and that's a message that we've been pushing pretty hard as a footy club, and the players, their diligence, their programs, their competitiveness on the training track, the way they've gone about their pre-season only indicates there's a real hunger there, and there's a hunger there to do it in front of their family and friends and supporters and play a really good brand of footy for them. So hunger's certainly an individual thing, but as a collective group, they look in good shape.
And there were a lot of players that missed out on playing on the day. Adam Tomlinson is one of those, and there's a bit of interest in him. He's come back in great shape, leading the time trials. He's as fit as anyone. Where do you see him settling in if he can crack his way into that starting 22?
Yeah, look, he was really instrumental in the first 7 weeks of the season last year, playing as that third tall, key defender for us. And obviously the emergence of Harrison Petty has made things incredibly competitive. But I've said this a lot, last year and the year before, that we're really open-minded to how our team looks. If Adam's good enough and playing good enough footy, he'll play, and we're happy to play 4 talls, whether it's they're all in the team. So he's in great physical shape. He's performing strongly at training. He's still got some work to do to get through the confidence levels with that knee, but everything's shaping towards him having a pretty strong season.
Richo, your role has shifted to a lot of off-field focus. Coming off a year where we did succeed in what we were hoping to do, have you identified new areas that need growth and improvement?
Oh, look, we look at every area. Yeah, we started our review process over in Perth. I reckon it was probably about day 3 or 4. We waited for blokes to be in reasonable shape so we could have some common sense conversations. But no, we looked at areas. I won't go into too many details, given this could end up anywhere. But no, there's some areas that we think that we can improve. That microscope, if you will, continues all the time. The guy, I've just come out of that's why Goody and I are still in shorts. We've just come out of a review meeting from today's training session. There were some things that we liked. There were some things that the coaches didn't like that they'll continue to look at. One thing I can assure all our supporters that will be watching this is the footy club certainly isn't resting on their laurels and think that they've got all the answers, and we just need to just keep rolling on to have success. No, far from it. The coaches and the footy department in general are looking for opportunities right across the board to improve and grow.
Like any year, there was change at the end of the season. There's some new staff coming in, Reece Conker, Steve Randall, Lisa Middleton. Have they settled in well and helped things move forward?
Yeah, no, there's some terrific people. We're delighted that people of that calibre have joined our footy club. And one of the negatives of, if there is one, of being successful is you get some people, Frosty's another one that move on to other opportunities, and in some ways we're pretty proud of that you create an environment where people or footy clubs, organisations want to go after your people, but that presents some challenges, and those challenges come a little bit later than you like in terms of being able to replace, but we're really pleased with the calibre of people that are going to come in and play those roles and bring a new energy and bring new ideas and potentially bring some new IP, and so far, to a man and woman, they've done a really good job.
There's a lot of interest from the fans in the AFL and AFLW programs and how they connect. There's a real one club mentality. Obviously, Ben Brown assists with that. What are the sort of philosophies that carry over from both departments?
Oh, look, certainly from a footy perspective, Mick and his crew with the women's program try to do as much as they can. I mean, the teams are different, but and the game is different really in many ways. But there's a lot of sharing goes on. Unfortunately, there's not the physical contact that we had planned for because of COVID. We still can't even have our fans come to training, so which is frustrating for us. But and hopefully that changes soon as we get closer to games. But we, as you mentioned, Benny Brown, Tomo's done a fair bit of work with the defenders down there. Mark Williams did a terrific kicking session with the girls and got them all up and about on their toes the other night in this very facility. So we do crossover whenever we can. It's been challenging, but in terms of philosophy and conversations that happen between people of similar roles, that dialogue and those conversations happen regularly.
You touched on COVID having an impact. It's likely to have an impact on field at some stage throughout the year. How is the whole club preparing for that if it pops up at some point?
We're going to dip our lid to our doctor and to Marcus Wagner in many ways. They've just been brilliant. They've had to be pretty tough with our players and with our staff and certainly with people like Goody and I to make sure that we're doing the right thing in terms of wearing masks and having our tests and we had some players get COVID over Christmas, but since then, when they've been under our control, we've been really quite healthy. We expect as kids go back to school that there's going to be some issues, particularly for the players that have kids, and certainly for our staff. But we've done some good work there. Selwyn, who I know you're going to have speak later on, has really quickly jumped into organising treadmills so that those that have been isolated. We've got one this week that's been isolated from the group, but other than doing group sessions with footies, he's not missing much. The coaches have been zooming in from an education perspective. As I mentioned, from a conditioning perspective, we've been able to cover off, and that will transfer into the season proper. Fingers crossed we don't have too many issues. The AFL are planning for if that happens in terms of potentially assisting with numbers on lists from. They're still working through that, so I won't go into too much detail. But all that stuff is happening, and we've got really good people that are really proactive to make sure that we just keep rolling on.
Goody, this season could be different to any other, but you got 25 years of experience under your belt. Do you lean into that in trying to prepare the group for something that could be a bit more challenging than usual?
Yeah, I think you tap into all your experiences and what you know when there's challenges, whether it be COVID-related challenges or expectation challenges. You just embrace what's in front of you, and you've got to use every situation as an opportunity. And I'm sure throughout this season coming up, there'll be things that are presented to us that are challenging in a whole range of different areas, and we'll look at all those things as just opportunities to how we grow and get better. And it may be through personnel, it may be through selection in terms of players not available, it may be through just a dip in form in various stages throughout the season. So we'll welcome those challenges and we'll look forward to grow from them.
Another challenge on field are the rule changes. They happen most years. How have you gone about preparing the team for those? Yeah,
look, we've had the umpires out here every week, and they've been working with our players and our coaches around what the new interpretations really, they're not really new rules, interpretations look like. I don't think it's going to have a big impact on the game, but both the umpires and the players and the coaches are working really closely to build that clarity, and I think once the season comes, I think the fans and the supporters won't see too much of a difference.
The final question here from the fans at home was around the improvements from 2020 to 2021. There was a noticeable improvement in the skills and the finishing off games, the real power in the team. How do you see that changing from year to year, and do you think there are any improvements that you can see happening this year?
There were significant improvements in all phases of the game for us last year, but clearly we're a really strong defensive team in 2020. but we're able to become a bit more of an aggressive team in 221, and that'll continue on. We'll find ways where we can be aggressive in all phases of the game, and we'll look to just improve. And I thought as the year went on, there's no question in the back, 7 or 8 rounds, we were certainly getting maximum benefit in our offence on the back of our really strong defence. So, we still want to keep that improvement going, but we'll continue to be a really aggressive team.
Very good. Goody, Richo, thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Good on you, good on.
Thanks, Gouet.
We'll now hear from Christian Petraka, who I caught up with a little earlier. Track, we're a month away from round 1. Is there a bit of excitement building now that the games are in sight?
Yeah, there is. I mean, this time of year is always a funny year. Obviously, pre-season is just about to end and we're into games, so it's exciting for us. Goody said it to us today. There's only 4 more main training sessions until round 1, until we versus the Doggies. So it is exciting, but the funny side is you sort of don't want to get injured in this period of time. You don't have a body of work, and then here comes match play. So we're all really excited.
Coming off such a successful season last year, where does the hunger for improvement come from among the group?
Oh, the hunger for improvement is that expectation and living up to that expectation. We don't shy away from it. We absolutely love it. And I guess for us as well, the feeling of being back at the MCG round 1 and the motivation for us is playing there again in grand final day, because fans and supporters and our family and my partner and stuff weren't able to come over and see it. So that's the biggest thing for us, is playing grand final day at the MCG.
Personally, you're coming off a big year, obviously on field, but off field signing a long-term contract as well. What are your focuses heading into a new season?
Winning another premiership, that's the biggest focus. Taking this club to another height again. That's my sole focus, and I know everyone else's as well. Individually, I just want to play my part in the team, and if I can play some good footy again, I'll be more than happy to do that. But I love this club. I love being here, and this is where I'll be for the rest of my life.
Fitting to go from our Norm Smith medalist to this must-have piece of merchandise, which is now available at the Demon Shop. Our 2022 Guernsey has the commemorative logo from last year's Premiership and is available in both short sleeve and long sleeve. You can buy that from the Demon Shop online or in store, and I've got a couple of deals for you. All members can get 10% off all products at the Demon Shop, but importantly for those viewers of the Members Brief, the Demon Shop is offering free shipping for the next 24 hours. Simply enter the code free shipping at checkout. I would now like to welcome our second round of guests, Performance Manager Selwyn Griffith and List Manager Tim Lamb. Thanks very much for your time. Firstly, Selwyn, you're in a new role this year. Things have changed a little bit, but do you feel like you've evolved a little bit as the pre-season has got underway?
Yeah, I think in the new role, last year I was involved in the strength and power and the reconditioning and really hands-on with the delivery and development of those programs, and this year you're overseeing the entire performance and medical department, so that is another progression, I guess, in my career, but also just in regards to the development of the entire program and how Goody and Richo and the rest of our organisation continue to see the program growing.
There have been a few role changes within the team, but do you feel like you've been able to keep the momentum from last year and not change things too much on the field?
Yeah, we've got a fantastic performance and medical team, and we had some individuals who were here with us last year and have been at the club for a few years who were able to progress within the organisation, so it's really good for their career progression, but also it maintains the principles and the philosophies that we've built over the last 12 months and continue to grow and evolve that within not only our own performance and medical team, but then for the entire organisation, which we hope will then continue to develop our players and our program to the elite standard that we want to deliver year in, year out.
Lammy, your line of questioning is going off-field, and in terms of the list management and the retention that you've focused on in recent years, it's gone well to date. There are a couple of big names still on your list, no doubt. One of them with plenty of interest is Luke Jackson. Have you got an update on how he's tracking and his eagerness to stay at Melbourne?
Yeah, well, you're right, Ben. We have had a focus on retention. We've executed a strategy to get the list into this point. And every year, you go into a season with a number of players out of contract. Like this stage last year, it was Gorney, Clayton, Christian Salem, Jake Lever, all out of contract. So Luke's not in an unusual position. There's hundreds of players in the competition that are out of contract, and he's only, as I said, he's one of a number that are out this year. And obviously, Luke's a really talented young guy, and that'll be something that'll take care of itself. And we're really comfortable with how all that sits.
From the questions coming through, there's a lot of confidence in how the list sits for the next 3 to 5 years. There's been a lot of first round picks. How are you planning on transitioning the list beyond that? Hopefully long-term success, but is there a plan in place for going forward?
Yeah, our job's sort of never complete in list management and recruiting. It's an ever-evolving space, and we always have to look, whether it's 1, 3, 5 years down the track. That's always part of our thinking and our forward strategic planning. So you would have noticed in the last few years we've been able to again bring in a group of young talented players, some of which have been exposed at AFL level and some that are still yet to get their opportunity. But we think that core of young guys that are coming through underneath the more established senior players hold us in good stead. But again, it's something we've always got an eye to the future in our role. It's really important that we do that, and we're planning for that pretty much on a daily basis.
So, and the boys have been back at work for a while now, but there was a late finish last season which pushes things back a little bit. Did you have to alter with the program at all to prepare them, given they were set back a little bit?
When we finished up in Perth last year, Goody and I spoke about bringing the group back as one. So we had the ability to bring some of our younger players back a week earlier, but we made the decision, and part of our values as a club is the unity piece, and so bringing our entire playing group back 2 weeks prior to Christmas allowed for a few of our guys to get an extra week, but also we understand that our athletes are really professional, and so the standards that they uphold in off-season, we were really confident and comfortable with how they would come back from a conditioning perspective in pre-season, and that's exactly what we've seen over the last 9 to 10 weeks. They've just thrived in this environment and thrived in preparing for the competitive season. So it makes my job easier, and it fills, our players and our staff with confidence in knowing how they want to go about it from a professional perspective, and the conditioning and the strength and power aspect that we're able to develop over the last 10 weeks.
This time of the year is when the loads are quite high. There's some big sessions out there on the track. Are you impressed with how the group is handling it?
Yeah, it has been fantastic. With, where you have the 2 weeks prior to Christmas and then a 3-week break over Christmas, you're always uncertain around is there complacency over that Christmas period. But the engagement from our group, they were training in numbers throughout Melbourne and interstate as well. We had our core group of WA boys who were training with the waffle team there, and just the unity within that and the standards they held away from the group was fantastic, and it showed once they came back in January post-Christmas. And then the ability for our guys to back up week upon week over the last 6 weeks has been phenomenal. We've had a few big weeks, and now we're starting to transition into our in-season program, and the group's thriving at the moment, which is a really strong position for us to be in. And we know that we're shifting our mindset into that game preparation.
Lammy, we added some talent to the list over the off-season by the 2021 National Draft. Have you liked what they've brought so far on the training track, and can you see them at all having an impact this year, or is it more a long-term sort of position for those boys?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, as with all young players, we don't put any expectation on what they can do, but we also don't put any ceiling on them. And I think Simon and the coaching group have really shown that it doesn't matter what your age is. If you're playing well enough to be in the team, then you'll be in the team. But we've got a terrific development program. Our DNA program, headed up by Choco, is fantastic. And as long as the boys are learning and creating elite habits early on, then that's really all we ask of them. In terms of how they've gone, as Sel pointed out, we had a bit of a WA contingent, so they spent pre-Christmas over there, which was really good. They were able to train with Jacko, who was back home as well, and so that was great for them to build some relationships. And since they've been here, they've been super impressive. They've all really handled the workloads that Selwyn and the guys have put in front of them. They're all really hard workers, eager to listen, eager to learn. And they've all shown little glimpses in our match simulation. They've all shown the reasons why we picked them. So again, Jason Taylor, our recruiting manager, and our recruiting team have done a terrific job again, and we're really confident those boys are going to be long-term players for the club.
There's a question in here around the academy rule changes in the draft. So someone's done their research. We didn't get to bid on Mac Andrew. He went to Gold Coast with pick number 5. Have you got an insight into why that rule changed this year?
Yeah, so The reason that changed primarily is to protect the integrity of the first round of the national draft, or the first 20 picks, and then this year that even extends out to the first 40 picks. And I think we support the AFL, and the reasoning behind it essentially was we'd seen over a number of years some really elite talent go to clubs that wouldn't normally get access to that talent due to their ladder position, if that makes sense. So Mac grew up down the road about a kilometre away, was an inaugural member of our academy, terrific young man. And whilst disappointing, it's also a real tick to our program that we're able to help Mac along his journey, and see him selected so high in the draft was a credit. He's a terrific young man from a great family.
So, and last one here, there has been a good couple of years for the club in terms of injury and fitness on the field. How do you almost try to exceed that this year and maintain what has been a really good foundation?
From a performance and medical department, we identify some key indicators for us as performance goals that we're trying to achieve across our playing group, and we know from history that if we can achieve that across our playing group, then we're going to be in a really good physical position to be resilient enough to withstand what the game throws at us. Luck plays a part in that as well, but the program is there to support Goody and the coaches and what we're trying to do from a game plan perspective. So we'll always look to evolve our performance program, whether that be strength, power or conditioning, to make sure we're supporting the game plan that Goody's wanting to implement with our playing group. And we just need to continue to do our due diligence to ensure we're providing an elite environment for our players to continually develop, for them to be robust and resilient, to withstand what the game throws at it, because the game of Australian rules football is really hard. And I've been really impressed with what our staff have done this pre-season, both coaches and performance and medical, to ensure we're doing that and delivering on that. And now we just hope that we can continue to do that from year upon year.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for your insights and your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Benny.
We'll now hear from AFLW Senior Coach Mick Stenier. Mick, it's been a strong start to the 2022 campaign. 5 wins, 1 loss. How do you feel like the group's placed in comparison to the rest of the competition?
Yeah, I think it's been a healthy start. I think if we had been offered 5-1 at the start of the season, we would have taken it. We were a little bit frustrated with the performance against Adelaide, but in the end, I think they taught us a valuable lesson about the physicality and intensity that's required to beat the best teams in the comp. So I think we'll take a lot of learnings from that, and that will really be able to build our season from here on out. We haven't quite been able to break games wide open, just with our finishing in front of goal and some skill execution, but the intensity and effort's there, and I think we're just slowly sort of building, and get some players will come back to the team over the coming weeks, and still tinkering with our best side. And I think it's an exciting, hopefully 6 to 8 weeks ahead for the club and our women's team.
We added some new players over the off-season. We've seen Taylor Harris and Eliza West have a real impact, hopefully Liv Purcell at some stage. Are you happy with how everything's gelled so far?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the combination of Taylor and Daisy as our deepest forwards is working really well. They complement each other really well, and Daisy's been I think she's leading the comp for goal assists, and Taylor's I think second in the leading goal kicking. So that combination's been good, and they're really supported well by Kate Hoare at ground level, and Shelley Scott, Jackie Parry, Alyssa Bannon, and now Megan Fitzsimon has sort of popped up as a small forward. So we're pleased with the mix we've got up forward. And then you mentioned Liv Purcell, all going well. She'll play against Brisbane next Monday in our round 7 game. Eliza West has really carved a spot out for herself in the midfield. Just a fierce, determined player that loves to win the ball and is complementing some of our other mids on the outside. So, and Ali Brown has played 3 or 4 games already this season. So, happy with the new additions to the side, and I think they've made us an even stronger team, and we're going to need to be this year if we want to go all the way.
We know premierships are hard to win. The boys obviously did it last year. Do you draw any inspiration from that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think to watch the journey of the boys since Goody took over, and the highs and lows that seasons have presented, and I guess the ongoing conversations in the offices that have been happening over the last 5 years, and then to sit back and watch how they went about last season, and then I guess their performance under the ultimate pressure. I think that gave our group a lot of hope that the method is very similar. Like, we want to play our roles for the team and be able to execute. And yeah, the boys showed us that if you put your heads down and put the team first, you can have that success. So that was a great lesson for our group, and I think that messaging has been consistent from any of the men's coaching team, or if Richo's been talking to the group, or Choco when he did a skills session the other week, the messaging's the same. You know, put the team first, play your role, and execute the basics. You'll be able to have some success. And so yeah, I think our group knows what the blueprint is. We've got to go and do it now.
It's an exciting time of the year for our AFLW side. They are past the halfway point of the season and right in contention for a 2022 Premiership. Now, our AFLW membership record has been smashed. It's increased by over 400% this season, and there's still time for you to jump on board and show your support. If you're an AFL member, become a member of our AFLW team for only $30 and get along to a game, or for $60, get access to all home matches plus a Hell Yeah tee. Now, as we draw to a close for tonight's show, I should mention a couple of events that the club has coming up. Firstly, must mention the annual general meeting, which is Wednesday, the 2nd of March, kicking off from 6:30 p.m. So that one should not be missed. Of course, we have plenty of AFLW action still to come. There's 4 games remaining in the home and away season. We've got 2 matches at Casey against North Melbourne and Carlton. So keep your eye out for the schedule of those. And of course, the AFL side has a couple of big games coming up. Starts with the Amy Community Series clash with the Blues, and then of course round 1 against the Western Bulldogs on the 16th of March, where we'll be unfurling the Premiership flag. So a lot to look forward to. Hope you enjoyed the coverage tonight and got plenty of insights from the guys on the panel. We appreciate you tuning in.